Hello, neighbor. I'm Robert Burns, and welcome back once again to another edition of Sound Off Louisiana. We are so delighted to have back with us once again former Alcohol and Tobacco Control Commissioner Murphy Painter. I hope everyone enjoyed segment one. And we'll give you the link for segment one for those of you who may have missed it. As we concluded segment one, Mr. Painter had just reached the point at which he had been summoned into the governor's office and given a little bit of bad news that they were no longer in need of his services. So I believe he said he might want to just give a little bit lead up into that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Painter. It's great to have you back, and the floor is all yours.
Okay, Robert, I wish I could say I was glad to be here, but certainly those things don't necessarily all add up to that, but I'm happy I'm finally able to have someone listen to the story, at least of my side of what took place. But anyway, I thought it was, as we're trying to make this thing follow for people to understand the flow of it, and in any investigation, a timeline is the most important thing that you can follow.
Absolutely.
So I moved up, I told about all the problems that were going on with the different wholesalers, beer wholesalers and all that stuff, and again, each one of those issues is all a different story, and somewhere down the line somebody wants to hear it, I'll be glad to share the documentation and the information I have on that. But I had the problem with the wholesale distributor in Lafayette over the ULL game. The ULL and Southern game was the issue there, and I got past that, and but that wasn't a good thing. And anytime you're appointed official for a governor, especially one that has political ambitions or whatever, that they want you to be seen but not heard. So that caused a ripple and a flaw to a degree. But anyway, so I'm still having all the problems internally that I had been having for about a year, trying to resolve a licensing issue where the system somehow, for particular circumstances and situations, was failing. The computer system that we had to track how a permit is issued and who touches it to make it issued was flawed some kind of way, and there were licenses that were being issued that shouldn't be issued.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm on guard now. I have a confidential assistant that is supposed to be on my side. I have a deputy commissioner who I brought in and vetted that also was an FBI National Academy of graduate. I have a director of enforcement that I'd sent to the FBI Academy and is supposed to be honest and above board, and somehow all these things that I put into place to try to keep these things from happening are still happening. So there's obviously a systems failure. Well, I got the fall of 2009, in November to be exact, I had already documented and wrote up my confidential assistant for a few things, and everybody knew doggone well once I started writing things up and documenting them that pretty much mean if things didn't change that something was getting ready to happen.
Sure.
So anyway, she brought in a application, and I'd had 3 stacks because I mean, I was a hands-on guy. I wasn't there for the money. I wasn't there for the fame and fortune. I was there to try to regulate that business the way it was supposed to be regulated, studied, investigated all the stuff with the law, did all the due diligence to make sure that we were trying to do the right thing for the right reasons. Well, I had a stack that you put stuff in that was supposed to be somebody that already looked at and gone over, everybody signed off on it, and all it needed was my signature. There was no issues. They had another stack that said that the middle stack was supposed to be a group of stuff that was marginal one way or the other, but where I had the discretion as a commissioner to make an exception, and my exceptions different than whatever. I had written exceptions out that these were the exceptions, and if those exceptions fit, I was able to sign a permit that maybe was a little off one way or the other. Then they had a stack that was supposed to be there, that it didn't matter what anybody would do, it didn't qualify or it wouldn't qualify or not, and all I did was sign and say that it didn't qualify, and it go back into the stack. Now, our handlers, I think I said the first go around, anywhere from 150 to 300 applications of this sort every month.
Okay.
So I mean, it was a job. It was ongoing job. We had a few people. I mean, we wasn't like having people fall over themselves and all that kind of stuff. Now, we were building, and we were doing pretty good, and that's what breaks my heart more than anything else, is that we were on the cusp that if we could have got over a few little things, that agency would have been unbelievably efficient and rightful and everything else as far as the issue of permits. But sometimes, you know, that is a problem to people too, because they want an avenue where you can hook something up, make something work. But anyway, so in November, competition assistant come to me with a license and said, well, everybody's already looked at this license application, and it's all been corrected. All I need you to do is sign it. So I'd been a little skeptical about things. I said, well, just put it on my desk. I'll look at it when I get a chance. Oh, no, we got people waiting for it. You know, so-and-so's done call. I said, no, it's all right. Just put it there. Let me wait and look at it. So because they had stuck a few of them in the wrong stack before.
I understand.
And I got stuck with those things and had to correct it down the line somewhere, which again didn't make any political friends in those situations, because almost every one time that happens, there's somebody of some clout involved in the scheme. Mm-hmm. Good schemes, bad schemes. So anyway, so she left it on the desk and went on about her business. Well, I started looking at it real close, and hidden in the back part where, you know, I wasn't supposed to look or whatever under the situation deal. It was a situation where a woman wanted a license for a bar up in Washita Parish.
Okay.
And she wanted to appoint her son, who was a convicted felon, as the manager of the place.
Okay.
Well, I mean, things have changed a whole lot in 11 years with how and why the investigation of convicted felons and who gets a license and don't get a license. But just to try to make sure everybody understands, that I can bore you for 15 hours, but I think it's really important to say, if the law did allow it, changed in 2006, and it said that under certain felony situations, licenses could be issued if someone was convicted of a felon. Prior to that time, without a pardon or whatever, it wasn't there.
Okay.
I'm going to put an asterisk on that for somewhere later in life. If somebody wants to ask me about that, there's another story about that too, but I'll save that for another time. But anyway, so that changed. So when I got 50 agents out there, I can't have 50 agents making the decision over when to give somebody a license that's a convicted felon and when not to.
I understand.
Because I got 50 different policies or 50 different thought processes, or maybe even alluding to the ability of money being an object of changing somebody's mind, or who to give or who not to give. So anyway, so all those deals supposedly came to me, to my office, and our staff was supposed to sit on them and make sure that they fit whatever the policy criteria that I'd laid out already in writing, so that I couldn't be arbitrary and capricious in the deal and have something to back on. Well, this one smelled funny. I mean, it smelled. So first thing I did was call a woman that that's applying for the license. She happened to work at ULM University in Monroe, had a pretty big job up there, which kind of puzzled me why she'd want to be in the bar business, you know. So she tells me, she says, I'm not going to be in the bar business. My son wants to be in the bar business, but he's got a felony on his record. So the agent told me he couldn't get the license, but for me to apply for the license and just appoint him manager, and that way he would run the bar and I wouldn't have nothing to do with it. And I said, well, you know, who was the agent and all that stuff, which is all another investigation, but the bottom line of it is, get back to me, somebody wanting me to sign it saying that it's okay, and that it all went through the scrutiny, so that where I would have signed the thing, and then that way somebody would, it all come back on me,
Sure.
would turn to whatever it was, or if it didn't, nothing ever bad happened, it wouldn't be no big deal till somebody found out about it. So anyway, a couple of days later, I confronted my confidential assistant about that. Well, she throws a fit and resigns.
Oh.
I accepted her resignation verbally, told her to go make a written copy for me, and that I'm sorry it came to that, but you know, that's the way things work. And I had a very important meeting with a bunch of tobacco wholesalers on another issue that had been, lack of a better word, screwed up by the powers that be below me on a tobacco issue. And so I had to go in about a 3-hour meeting with a group of tobacco wholesalers to straighten that out. Left her to do what she was supposed to do, and ironically, I was leaving. I was on a Friday afternoon. That Saturday, I was leaving to go to Quantico, Virginia, where I'd been accepted to go to the Law Enforcement Executive Management Institute at the FBI. Passed all the tests, passed all the scrutiny, whatever, to get in that. Had been on a waiting list for 4 years to get in. That's how popular the school is. It's one of the best, if not the best, law enforcement management schools in the United States. The best in the United States, and probably one of the best in the world. So I got all this going on now. I got my supposedly right-hand person bailing out on me. I know I have a mutiny going on in the rest of the ranks, and I mean, the opportunity to do this, I went ahead and assumed she had resigned, left instructions for everybody else what to do or what not to do, and I left to go to that school. Well, Monday or Tuesday, I get a call from somebody saying that they thought she had resigned, but she's in the office copying documents, and that I call Revenue. Revenue says, "Oh no, she didn't resign. She filed a complaint against you."
Okay.
And didn't resign. So anyway, long story longer, Revenue takes 3 months. They hire an expert labor lawyer to come in and investigate her complaint. And her allegations were, in the beginning, sexual harassment, whether she never did state whether it was sexual harassment because she was female, sexual harassment because of any other deal, but it was sexual harassment, a bunch of other stuff that supposedly took place. That and that lawyer came and investigated and talked to 30 different people in that office.
Okay.
And I talked to him for 8 to 10 hours myself one day without a lawyer, and showed him everything that was going on, this, that, and the other. And that lawyer puts a report out saying that in the end, that she told them that it never was anything about sexual harassment. That her and some other employees didn't like my management style.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there saying, well, I guess they don't. I want them to do the right thing. They don't want to do the right thing. They on another tangent right now. And that's the whole issue to the deal. But anyway,
And just to interrupt you for a second, this took about 3 months, you said?
3 months,
And,
yeah.
and what time frame did that occur in?
In February or March, the beginning of March, which it also included the beginning of the legislature, what's
Okay.
going on.
And we're talking 2010, right?
2010.
Okay.
So in the meantime, she had resigned, went ahead and put a resignation in, and when the legislative session started, she pops up working for the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, which is fine. I mean, she had a baby and all that. I didn't care one bit about her having a job. She needed a job. I just wanted her out of my. I couldn't trust her. I had no faith in her ability to pass out or to do whatever I wanted to do or not do legally as an agency. But that was fine and dandy. I mean, good riddance. Glad you're there. But I also know that she didn't get there accidentally because she had no stroke.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. She got to come to work for me because I knew the people. I knew the deal. She qualified. There was no other qualified or nothing. But I know how the system works. At that time, Jindal had come in. They wasn't hiring anybody along the line. She pops up at the Wildlife and Fisheries. Fine and dandy. So anyway, now I'm continuing to investigate my licensing situation, and now I even more realize that the top people that I have brought on and that I trust, I don't have any confidence in their deal anymore. I have to question everything now. I don't have no faith in whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So later in the spring, and I mean all that other stuff I told you before is going on with
Sure.
different things. We'll talk about that later. But in the spring, we were adjudicating the wholesale person that was issued a very, very, very valuable wholesale permit in the Lake Charles area.
Okay.
How, again, I mean, I got my theories and all that, and I would be glad to express them again and have told them to everybody in the world. But eventually that thing came to truth when it went to court, and the court agreed with me that they didn't qualify. So everything I did was absolutely correct in what needed to be done in that situation. But anyway, that spring, we are trying to adjudicate this thing, and somebody keeps throwing a wrench in it every time that it gets somewhere. So the first thing I do is relieve the deputy commissioner of his authority over everybody else, because witnesses were being talked to and told what to say or not say. So I got all that out the way. I put a different prosecutor in charge of adjudicating the case. We went to a hearing above board. I mean, it's who their lawyer was and all that's a story, and I mean, it's a whole big deal in itself. But anyway, I adjudicated it. They took the permit away from them. They appealed it. It went to court where it was supposed to go. The judge agreed that they didn't qualify, and they lost their permit. But anyway, so my employees, I took that guy allegedly out of the deal, where he had no authority over everybody else. Did it through civil service. All of it's documented. It wasn't no doubt. I did it the right way.
Okay.
Well, this would be about June, July, and we got August. So when I took him out of the situation, within 3 weeks to a month of that, we get a Freedom of Information request from Nakamoto,
Okay.
wanting my calendar, not anything else but my calendar. Now, my lawyer on board, facilitated legally whatever that was. Undoubtedly, he didn't get what he was looking for, and that never went anywhere.
Okay.
That would have been around the beginning of July. So when that didn't go anywhere, I had been forced to take on another assistant or administrative assistant or confidential assistant to take the other girl's place.
Okay.
And in the middle of it, she automatically, just had some issues. We had a talk before she took the job. It didn't work out like it was. And around July the 21st or something along that line, I had a talk with her and tried to, where she agreed that she was going to step back down out of the position. I had another position for her, and another girl that was there at the time, who was supposed to get the job to start with. I was going to move her into that spot, but I was trying to satisfy the Secretary of Revenue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, on the first go round, and so I had that meeting with her. Well, when I left the office to go to another meeting, a little bird told me, said, you really need to look at the security footage when you left. So I go, the Secretary of State had the footage, so I go to the Secretary of State. As soon as I left the building, that confidential assistant, the Director of Enforcement, and my Deputy Chief, Deputy Commissioner, who has been relieved of his duties, two of them go down the elevator this way in the deal supposedly where they go smoke. The commissioner went around the building and then came back, and they all wound up in the basement of the building and go in a mechanical closet for an hour and a half. In the mechanical closet, 2 men, 1 woman, in a mechanical closet in the basement of the building when they're supposed to be working.
Okay.
So anyway, so I do what I'm supposed to do with that. I document it. I reprimand them because in the way civil service goes, they want you to add up stuff or whatever. They know once I just like the other situation, once I start documenting things, they know it's the beginning of the end for whatever it was. Now that's around July the 21st, 22nd. On July the 28th, now I don't find out about any of this till after I'm gone, okay? I don't find out after. On July the 28th, the same people we're talking about, not the confidential assistant and not the one working for the Wildlife and Fisheries now, but the top people in my office meet with the Deputy Secretary of Revenue to file a complaint against me for supposedly sexually harassing the confidential assistant on the same complaint that Revenue had already investigated.
So it's the same, we're talking about the same original.
Same original
Okay.
complaint, not one word different one way or the other. She's not there.
Right.
But they filing that complaint with the deputy secretary, which there's no civil service wise, they can't do that. I'm the appointed official for that office. Nobody underneath me can investigate me on state time. They can't. That's all the biggest BS thing I ever heard of in my life. Besides, the Department of Revenue, I'm underneath him, but I'm appointed by the governor. So if they want to investigate me, somebody has to notify me, or allegedly they're supposed to notify me that I'm being investigated and relieve me of my duties and position over these people and investigate me. So they investigated from the 28th of July to August the 2nd.
Okay.
August the 2nd, they issue a report that they found no wrongdoing in anything that I had done.
When you say they investigated, who's?
Department of Revenue.
Okay,
The Department of Revenue, who
Oh.
I'm under.
okay, continue. Didn't mean to
No,
sidetrack you.
but I still don't know nothing. I don't know anything about this going on. No, this is all secret. Okay. So on August the 2nd, guess what's the first day is? That former confidential assistant goes to the OIG's office.
And OIG, folks, for those of you who may not know, that's Office of Inspector General.
Office of Inspector General, Stephen Street's office.
Okay,
August the 2nd.
okay,
Now she goes and files the same complaint that's already been investigated by the Department of Revenue.
okay,
Nothing happens. August the 4th, August the 5th, nothing happens.
okay.
August the 6th, somebody, now look, I'm hot on the trail inside the office. Now, the walls are already up. Everybody already knows, and I got a file and all the documents and everything. I mean, I'm just about ready to pull the pin on the whole deal. Besides having to try to deal with the saints trying to make me do something that I'm not, that doesn't necessarily flow
Right.
one way or the other. And let's don't say the saints, let's just say some people representing that organization.
Gotcha.
And the other stuff that I told you was going on at the same time, which is all gonna make a good story later. But anyway, so they know. I mean, I'm real close now. Nobody gets anywhere too much without some kind of politics one way or the other, and anybody can go back and look at it. I'm not wanting to. I don't want to badmouth anybody, because some of these people are good people, still think they halfway people that did stuff for me down the line, whatever else. But I notify a couple of political people that had some direct influence and reasoning on some of the people in my office, and advise them and show them all the documentation of what I got going on, and that I'm getting ready to pull the plug on the deal if somebody doesn't come forward. And like the old story, a spy coming out of the cold, you know, come on in, Mayor Cooper, tell me the whole deal. Let's straighten out whatever it is, and take your medicine or whatever it is, or go on about whatever has to happen. Well, all that is in play. So on August the 6th,
Which is a Friday.
no, August, that's the 13th,
Well,
is a Friday.
Yeah, but so would be the 6th.
Okay, well, then on August the 6th, I'm pretty sure about those dates.
Well, it doesn't matter. If you're off a day or
It's
two.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Somebody sends an email to the governor's office, to all the senators in the state, some representatives, and just everybody that is some political person in the world, sends an email to them accusing me of all kind of different things, all kind of stuff.
Was it
Well-
sent under an assumed name, or did they?
Well, it was under an assumed name, and it was under an assumed address.
Gotcha.
And I still believe that address could have been found out. And if I would have stayed in power, if you want to use that word, I'd have cleared all of it up very quickly. But anyway, I'm the commissioner. I'm still got responsibilities. We're running an agency, and there's almost 100 people working there. So I still, to test again, try to last ditch to test some of the people that I had. I gave them the deal, said trace this email and let me know where it come from. Well, they come back a day and a half later and said, we can't trace it. which I knew was a lie.
Okay.
So I relieved them of their responsibility. I go get the computer guy come in there, because I sure in the hell don't know how to do it, and say, tell me where this email come from. Well, and there's no guarantee that that's where it come from, but investigation, it's a lead.
Sure.
Come back from the state library downtown,
Oh.
right next to the Department of Revenue, right next to some apartment complexes and stuff that some of the people that we're talking about have access to.
Okay.
And so it's a lead. I'm not panicking. I'm not under duress because I hadn't done anything wrong. I'm not. All I need is for somebody to look at what I got and see what's going on, and they're gonna understand that it's not me, and that, it's not mine. I'm trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so me and a couple of people that I brought in from other high-ranking people in ATC that were honest and above board, or that I could trust, and we were working a legitimate 100,000% internal affairs investigation that in all probability violated every criminal statute that they had. I was being shaken down.
Okay.
I was being shaken down is no better way to put it.
Okay.
So we go, me and one of these people go and to the library, and I'll be damned if we ain't lucky enough that there's a camera on the door of the library.
Oh.
So we go in that Friday and ask to talk to the manager, the head librarian. She's not there that day.
Okay.
So we say, y'all taping that? Yep. Well, law enforcement, this is a law enforcement matter. I'd like to see the film from August the 6th or whatever it was at 8:35 a.m. See who came in the library that day. Well, there is a law that says that you can't take pictures, that there's no right to anybody who goes back and forth the library. Understand that. That's for non-law enforcement people. This was a law enforcement matter. I mean, this was a crime taking place, and it wasn't me doing any crime.
Mm-hmm.
So they said she'll be back Monday, and you'll have access to it Monday. I'm sure you explained to her. If she'd have said, I need a warrant to get that, we had law enforcement, full law enforcement authority, not no make-believe legal opinion law enforcement authority. The law fully said that we were Louisiana peace officers, gave us peace officer status, full law enforcement authority. We working with the FBI, we working task force with the EA, the INS, ICE, all that stuff. We doing a good job. We're doing good things. So anyway, so when I leave the office that Friday, the 13th now,
Okay.
which is what that was. Well, I'm leaving out a part, leaving out a big part. On the 8th, after we traced that thing back to the library, I didn't have time to go on the 7th or 8th. No, the 8th, 9th, or 10th, 11th, 13th, whatever it was, whatever day before, because they had 2 days or 3 days to look at it. When they couldn't do it, then I did it. Like I said, I wasn't in any emergency to go run, because I had time and righteousness supposedly on my side. So when I had a chance, not neglecting my duties, I would do it. But I also started trying to trace the email address, which I started getting interference that couldn't be done, or it would take too long to do it, this, that, or the other. But I did some interposing and names. A name that was on there somebody didn't pick by accident But even if it did, it didn't matter. All I wanted to do was to talk to a few people that possibly it was connected to, and just see whether they knew anything about anybody or whether they were connected to anybody at ATC with this whole deal, or with the industry some kind of way. So anyway, I started looking into the deal, and the first person that come back with an address came back to an address from Rayne, Louisiana.
Rayne, okay.
Which happened to be the same place that the confidential assistant is from.
The second one or the first one?
The first
one, okay.
So I'm again just looking for leads, this, that, and the other. And so I got the address where this person lives from Rayne, so I didn't know where the confidential assistant was living now, or what. I mean, I hadn't been following her. It didn't matter to me. I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran her driver's license through the computer to see whether her doggone license, whether her address had changed in between the meantime. Well, all this is on paper. It's in a sworn affidavit from her lawyer in answers to interrogatories when she filed suit against me in the beginning. But come to find out, they monitoring, when I say they, the two people I done mentioned already, and another third person who was supposedly over our they call him a TAC officer, that was over the monitoring, and all his monitoring was supposed to be doing was at the end of the year do an audit to see how many checks were made, and to check and see whether it was being used for ATC purposes or law enforcement purposes, and either or. But anyway, they monitoring who I'm running on the computer in order to offset whatever they got going on, which I didn't care, because all I needed was to stay where I was in time, because I was going to get them anyway. I mean, I had all the stuff I needed to resolve the issue. So I ran her name through the computer and come back. And so the next morning, or maybe even that night, Brant Thompson calls her and tells her I ran her name on the computer, and she runs back to the OIG's office and says that I ran her name through the computer.
Okay.
Now this was around the 9th or the 10th
of the week of the 13th.
Of the week of the 13th.
Okay.
So now also, she tells the OIG in one of those last visits that she had went and met with the sheriff of Ascension Parish to tell him about her troubles before she went back to the OIG the second time or the third time. Now, so now all of a sudden, I'm getting so close to blowing the thing so wide open as a good investigator, and the people that were helping me, documenting everything along the way it was supposed to be. Well, that's when the OIG allegedly decides to take the complaint and to start investigating the complaint.
Okay.
And then he goes and through the three people that I mentioned, whether I mention their name or not, we can mention that later if it ever comes to it. They need to be identified. But three of the top people underneath me in the office, the guy in charge of the data system, not in charge, the monitoring of the data system, because I'm in charge of everything, and the director of enforcement and the deputy commissioner supposedly get interviewed by the OIG investigator, and then from the 10th to the 13th, they decide that that I'm a horrible individual and that I'm doing all kind of things I'm not supposed to do, and bring me to the governor's office at 6 o'clock in Friday afternoon on August the 13th, and asked me to resign, which I refused. And then they said, well, we're gonna fire you anyway. They don't use the word fire, and said you don't have a job anyway. Now, you want a break there?
You've provided excellent. You've provided excellent background leading up to where we concluded segment one. I know I was fascinated by it, which is why you heard me so little, and I feel like our viewers are too. So yeah, we'll take a little break here, and we'll look forward to having everyone in for segment 3.
All right, thank you.
All right.